Hey everyone, welcome back. So I know a lot of you are out there feeling like the system just isn't working right, like something's off.
Yeah.
And you really want to understand how we got to this place, especially when it comes to like institutions and power structure.
Right.
Well, you're in the right spot because today we are diving deep into a book called Unprofitable Secrets, a history of capitalism, to trace those roots right back to the source.
And let me tell you, this book is an absolute goldmine.
Yeah.
It's not just like, here's what happened. It really digs into like the why and the how behind those shifts,
Yeah.
which is so important for understanding where we are today.
Absolutely. And honestly, one of the first things that blew my mind was realizing that capitalism didn't just like magically appear during the Industrial Revolution, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of us learned in school,
Right.
talking way early, like back in the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, 14th, 15th century.
Yeah.
It was a huge shift.
Huge.
Back in Europe was mostly feudalism, right?
Right.
Lords held all the power. Everybody else was tied to the land.
Yeah.
Then during the Renaissance, you start to see these markets popping up, trade expanding, people producing goods to sell, not just for themselves.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of what we recognize as capitalism.
Okay, so we've got this major societal shift happening. But this book, Unprofitable Secrets, it doesn't try to sugarcoat things.
Right.
It really dives into how this transition wasn't all like sunshine and roses.
Oh, yeah.
You see economic disparity, emerging exploitation of workers.
Right.
It really lays bare the complexities of that period.
It's crucial because that's what gives us the critical lens to look at the institutions we have today.
Yeah.
Like these seeds of inequality, these power imbalances. They weren't just a phase, they're built into the system's DNA.
Right, which makes you think, right? Does this historical context resonate with any of the frustrations you might be feeling today?
Exactly.
We're talking centuries ago,
Yeah.
but are we seeing echoes of those same power struggles?
Yeah.
I want you to really think about that as we go through this.
Connecting those dots. History may not repeat, but the patterns are there.
Definitely. Okay, so let's fast forward a bit.
Okay.
Another part of Unprofitable Secrets that blew my mind was the origin story of corporations.
Oh, yeah.
I always thought they were like a modern thing,
Right.
but get this, they could be traced back to 16th century trading companies.
Think about those massive companies like the Dutch East India Company.
Right.
They weren't just businesses.
Right.
They had armies. They were waging wars, controlling vast trade routes.
It's wild.
The book does an incredible job of showing just how powerful they were.
And then bam, the Industrial Revolution hits.
Yeah.
And it's like corporations just explode.
It's like they were launched out of a cannon.
Their power just goes through the roof.
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Right.
The book explains how this idea of corporate personhood pops up during this time. Suddenly, corporations are being treated like people under the law. They can own property, be sued.
Wait, so they get legal rights? Like people
It's a huge turning point in their evolution.
talk about a power move.
And that raises some big questions.
Yeah.
Profitable Secrets dives into the debates surrounding this whole concept. How much power should they have? How much influence is too much?
Yeah.
These are questions we're still arguing about today,
Right.
especially when you look at giants like Google or Amazon.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you look at those companies in a whole new light, right?
Sure.
Knowing how corporations evolved and gained power historically adds another layer to the whole conversation.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding these levers of power, and Unprofitable Secrets really helps us unpack that.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another really fascinating aspect of capitalism that the book explores.
Okay. Monopolies. Yeah, I have to admit, before reading this book, I kind of just thought monopolies were like
Yeah.
the big bad corporations, crushing the little guy.
Right, the evil empire.
Yeah. But the book, it really brings some nuance to that understanding.
It does. It explains that a monopoly happens when one company dominates a whole market or industry.
Right.
And sure, the potential for abuse is definitely there.
Oh, yeah.
Controlling prices or stifling innovation. But Unprofitable Secrets also points out that sometimes
Yeah.
one big company can actually be more efficient than a bunch of little competitors.
Interesting.
Right.
It's like the book is making us think critically,
Yeah.
not just accept the usual story.
Exactly.
It's not always black and white.
It's not.
Like take Standard Oil, for example.
Yeah.
They controlled a huge chunk of oil production in the U.S.
Right.
But the book presents a balanced view of what they did,
Exactly.
good and bad.
Yeah, and looking at those historical examples like Standard Oil or even modern giants like Google and Amazon, it makes us ask ourselves, Do these companies have too much power?
Yeah.
Are they hurting competition?
Right.
It's about applying these historical lessons to the world we live in today.
I feel like I'm seeing those power dynamics everywhere now.
Right.
It's like the book gave me new eyes.
That's the beauty of knowledge.
It is.
Now let's shift gears a bit. Profitable Secrets takes us on this wild ride through the evolution of financial markets.
Okay.
We start way back in the 17th century in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
That's where the first stock exchange was set up.
Ah.
And it's amazing to see how things have changed over time.
I was blown away by the sheer scale of innovation.
Yeah.
From those early exchanges to telegraphy and ticker tape machines and electronic trading platforms and the internet.
It's incredible how far we've come.
It really is mind-boggling.
But the book doesn't shy away from the darker side of this evolution either.
Yeah.
It reminds us that along with innovation, financial markets have always been vulnerable to volatility and crashes.
Oh, yeah.
Like the 1929 crash, that's a stark reminder that even the most sophisticated systems can crumble.
Right. It's like a reality check. The
Right.
human emotions, greed, fear, speculation, they still play a huge role in these markets no matter how advanced the tech gets.
Absolutely. That's why Unprofitable Secrets really stresses the importance of understanding the difference between investment and speculation. It uses this really simple example of a $12,000 investment decision to make the point clear.
I loved that part.
Yeah.
It was so clear.
Right.
Investing, as the book explains, is about carefully analyzing opportunities for long-term growth.
Right. Slow and steady.
Yeah. Speculation, on the other hand, is more like gambling high-risk bets for quick gains.
Exactly.
And that difference has huge implications, not just for individuals, but for the whole economy.
It does. Investing can lead to stability and sustained growth. Too much speculation can create these dangerous bubbles that pop and lead to crashes.
It's like building a house on a solid foundation versus a house of cards.
Perfect analogy.
Right.
And it leads to a question the book asks, are your own financial decisions driven by investment or speculation?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right? It's something to really think about, especially today when it's so easy to get caught up in get-rich-quick schemes.
So true. It's a good reminder to think long-term and make informed decisions.
Absolutely.
Speaking of changing landscapes, the book also tackles this whole rise of the gig economy.
Oh, yeah.
Something that's definitely on a lot of people's minds these days.
It's changing the way we think about work.
Yeah.
Traditional jobs are being replaced with freelance work, short-term contracts, gigs on platforms like Uber and Airbnb. Profitable Secrets does a great job of exploring the potential benefits and the downsides of this new model.
Yeah, like on one hand, there's the appeal of flexibility.
Right, being your own boss.
Yeah, but then you've got the lack of benefits and job security.
Yeah, the trade-offs are complicated.
Very complex.
And the book reminds us this isn't happening in isolation.
Right.
The gig economy is connected to these larger trends like automation and globalization. It's reshaping the whole landscape of work.
Like the old rules are gone and we're all figuring out this new terrain as we go.
You got it. And Unprofitable Secrets doesn't just present the facts, it challenges the reader to actively engage with these trends. What skills will be valuable in this new world of work? How can people adapt and thrive in this constantly changing environment?
Right.
These are questions we all need to be asking ourselves.
It's about empowerment through knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
Understanding the forces at play so we can make smart decisions about our own lives and careers.
You got it. Now let's shift our focus to a topic that often gets overlooked in these conversations about capitalism.
Okay.
The role of women.
This was a fascinating part of the book for me.
Yeah.
Unprofitable Secrets sheds light on how women have been active participants in economic systems.
Right, from the very beginning.
Yeah, even if their contributions haven't always been recognized.
It's like uncovering this hidden history.
Yeah.
The book takes us back to the Renaissance, showing how women were involved in trade, finance, even early forms of manufacture.
Challenges that traditional view of women only being in the domestic sphere.
Right. They were out there making things happen.
They were?
But the book also acknowledges the huge challenges women have faced throughout history.
Yeah.
Limited access to education, property rights, legal protection, paints a realistic picture of the obstacles they had to overcome.
It's a stark reminder that things haven't always been fair.
No, they haven't. Unprofitable Secrets traces the evolution of women's roles in capitalism.
Okay.
From the pre-industrial era through the Industrial Revolution and into the rise of the modern corporation. We see them playing key roles in early labor rights movements,
Right.
fighting for better working conditions and fair wages.
It's inspiring to see how women have always been pushing for social change.
Yeah, even when facing huge systemic barriers.
Right.
And the book also highlights the strides women have made in leadership positions. The first female CEOs, the growing number of women entrepreneurs.
It's a testament to their resilience and determination.
It is, but as the book points out, there's still a long way to go for true gender equality in the workplace.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to another crucial aspect of capitalism that the book dives into, social mobility.
Ah, yes. Is it really a system where anyone can succeed if they just work hard enough?
Right, that's the classic
The
story.
American dream.
Yeah, the idea that anyone can climb the ladder of success through pure effort.
Right, but Unprofitable Secrets takes a more nuanced look at it. It acknowledges that while capitalism can create opportunity, it often favors those who already have advantages. People born into wealth or with access to networks and resources that others don't have.
It's like some people start the race with a head start while others are held back by invisible barriers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book explores those systemic factors that contribute to social immobility. Things like poverty, lack of access to good education, discrimination.
It's a tough reality check that the system isn't always fair.
It's true.
And that hard work alone might not be enough to overcome those deep-seated disadvantages.
But Unprofitable Secrets doesn't leave us feeling hopeless. It also highlights inspiring stories of people who defied the odds. People who overcame those obstacles and achieved success.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even though the system might be flawed, it's not impossible to break through.
It's about agency, right?
Exactly.
Even within a system that might not be designed for everyone to succeed, there are still people who find a way to make it work.
Precisely. Now let's turn our attention to a topic that's often debated when we talk about capitalism.
Okay.
Its relationship with democracy.
Are they compatible or are they fundamentally at odds?
That's the big question.
It is.
And Unprofitable Secrets tackles it head on.
Okay.
The book examines the history of this relationship, from the early days of capitalism to the rise of modern democratic states.
It's a fascinating dynamic.
It is. The book points out that capitalism has existed under both democratic and authoritarian regimes.
So it's not a simple one-to-one relationship.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the book also recognizes that there can be tension between capitalism and democracy, especially when it comes to issues like economic inequality and the influence of corporations on government policy.
It's like this constant push and pull between economic freedom and political equality.
That's a great way to put it. Unprofitable Secrets challenges us to think critically about this relationship and to explore ways to make sure that capitalism benefits everyone, not just the wealthy and powerful.
It's a call to be active participants in shaping the society we want to live in.
Exactly. Not just passively accepting things as they are.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a big overarching question the book poses.
Okay.
What is the future of capitalism?
The million-dollar question.
Right. I love that the book doesn't try to give us a definitive answer.
Right.
It encourages us to really grapple with the complexities and uncertainties of the future.
It's about exploring emerging trends like automation, the evolving gig economy, the growing focus on sustainability.
Yeah.
These are all forces that are shaping the future of capitalism. And Unprofitable Secrets gives us a framework for thinking about how those trends might play out.
Well, it's like we're standing at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And the book is our guide, helping us navigate this uncharted territory.
It's a call to rethink our assumptions, to challenge the status quo, to imagine new possibilities for a more just and sustainable economic system.
I like that framing. It's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
It's about taking the best parts of capitalism, innovation, creativity, the potential for progress, and making them work for everyone.
And that leads us to the final and maybe the most important question the book asks.
Yeah.
Is it possible to create a system that benefits everyone without harming the environment?
That's the ultimate challenge, right? Can we have our cake and eat it too? Can we reconcile our desire for economic prosperity with the urgent need to protect the planet?
It's a huge question, and Unprofitable Secrets doesn't pretend to have all the answers. But it gives us a really powerful way to think about these issues, you know? They're complex, they're all connected.
Yeah.
The book really pushes us to move beyond those simple solutions and face the messy reality of building a sustainable future.
It's not going to be easy.
No, it's not.
The book makes it clear we can't keep doing things the same way.
Right.
We need to be willing to question everything.
Yeah, challenge the status quo, experiment with new approaches.
And that's where history comes in, right? Absolutely, by understanding how we got here, looking at what worked and what didn't in the past, we can get some clues about what might work as we face the challenges of the 21st century.
Unprofitable Secrets doesn't sugarcoat things either.
No, it doesn't.
It acknowledges that there will be trade-offs,
Right.
tough choices, maybe even sacrifices along the way.
Yeah, but it also gives us hope,
Yeah.
a belief that together we can create a better future.
I think that's what I like most about this book.
Yeah.
It's not just a boring history lesson.
It's an exploration of what's possible
Right.
if we dare to imagine a different future.
Yeah, a future where capitalism works for everyone.
Yeah.
Not just a select few.
And a future where we live in harmony with the planet, not at its expense.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Unprofitable Secrets. A history of capitalism has been a real eye-opener for me, and I think it can spark important conversation and inspire real change.
Absolutely. If you're trying to understand how our world got to be this way and want to figure out how to create a more just and sustainable future, this book is a must-read.
Definitely.
You can find Unprofitable Secrets, A History of Capitalism on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
Check it out.
Don't miss this one. It's a journey worth taking.
It really is.
It's an investment in understanding the world and your ability to shape its future.
Well said.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the history of capitalism.
Yeah.
We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking, and maybe even a little inspiring.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Remember, understanding the past is key to navigating the present
Yeah.
and shaping the future.
Absolutely.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning,
Yeah.
and join us next time for another deep dive into a topic that matters.